Welcome in everyone to another episode of the Hawk's Eye podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Coots, and you guys all asked for it when I brought him on the first time, so I'm bringing him back again, and that is Coach Derek from All 22 Films. He's going to be joining me tonight to go over Rasheed Shaheed's fit in the Seattle Seahawks offense, what he likes about it, how he thinks it can affect the pass game, the run game, and overall, how much more dangerous does this make the Seattle Seahawks offense going into the second half of this season. So we'll get Coach Derek in here shortly. But before we get going with all of that, guys, please don't forget, like, subscribe to the channel, click the notification button. If you want just the audio versions of these shows, they are found over on Spotify, and you guys can give me a rating over there. That'd be greatly appreciated. And follow the page over on that side as well. So with all of that being said, we'll have Coach Derek on here right after.
Inside the 15, looks, throws, fires to the end zone, ball is caught, touchdown, Seahawks! Dunking it over the bar is Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Driving on the run, Lynch, 40, pushes the man, 35, look at him go! He's down to 20, 15, he could go, he is gonna go! Touchdown, Seahawks! Oh my word! A 67-yard run!
All right, everyone, and as promised, I have Coach Derek here from All 22 Films joining me live on Hawk's Eye tonight, and we're going to break down Rasheed Shaheed's fit in this offense and what Coach Derek likes about this addition by the Seattle Seahawks. So, Coach, first off, how have you been, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. The season's going by fast, right? Can you believe that when you read week that the number 10 comes after it at this point? It's shocking how quickly a football season goes by, no matter what, level it is. Unless you're coaching youth football, that stuff seems to last 7 months.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. But yeah, it's kind of shocking, to think of, even when you look at the college games now and you're seeing teams with 6-2 records and things like that, and you're going, wow, like we're getting to the end of the college season. The NFL is halfway through now. Like it's flown by, and it's been some really good football this year. And so obviously, now
especially
that we're
Seahawks. Especially Seahawks. It's a different kind of group to watch them play, especially on defense. I know we're going to talk about offense, but I just finished watching defense film here in about 30 minutes that I had before, we went on. And connected group, man, well coached, passionate, operating as a unit, fun to watch.
Yeah, no, they definitely on defense are fun to watch because now they're finally getting healthy again. They're getting all their pieces back. Obviously, Julian Love's still out, and he'll be back here probably in the next couple of weeks off of IR. But they've got some other guys that have stepped up and played really well. And obviously, Nick Eamon-Warry's finding his role, and they're finding that use of how to get him and Spoon both on the field. But yeah, tonight we're going to talk about this addition Seattle made. So like you said, we're into week 10 now of the NFL season. We're getting close to it, and Seattle went out and made a trade. They went out and got Rashid Shaheed from New Orleans Saints, as everyone talks about him, a speed threat, a deep guy that can take the top off any defense. But I wanted to get your thoughts first off. What did you think of the move, and how do you think this impacts Seattle's offense?
I was surprised, to be honest with you, but I get it. The alarmist reaction is, oh well, what's wrong with Cooper Kupp, such that they needed to make a move. I don't know that necessarily is 40% of this decision here. I'm willing to admit that it could be 20 or 30. It could be bigger than you want it to be, but it's, I was thinking about it earlier today. Like you could have gone out and got, like, let's just say a T Higgins, ridiculous salary. So that probably doesn't fit, but this is better because the integration seamless. This is like, a piece of computer hardware moving from the same laptop to another one. It's a pain in the butt to disassemble a laptop and reassemble it, but the same piece of hardware moving from one lap to the other. You know it fits, you know the orientation of it, and you know the process because you just took it out of the other one. And so, man, I mean, for him to same terminology, same system, this should be easy integration, in my opinion. You guys play the Cardinals this week, right?
Yes.
And he's already played against the Cardinals this year. He already played against Will Johnson. Will Johnson had an interception on a deep ball to him from Spencer Rattler. So I had that game as one of the ones that I tried to study, man. I'm excited. I love it. The interchangeability is one of the things that I think could be understated here or undercovered. It may be just as important as the deep ball aspect, in my opinion, because you could be a little less predictable with who's running what route because he knows the system.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing is you're getting a guy, like you said, that you literally get to plug and play. Like he may have most guys when they get traded, it takes them a couple weeks to get kind of integrated into what they're doing and get them really involved in the offense. There's a chance he could see a good chunk of play time this Sunday versus the Cardinals. And plus, there's things he does outside of just the deep ball aspect of his game, like him in the jet sweep and in the run game is an aspect. Him even in the return game is another aspect, which I know Seattle will potentially use him in. So I'm really excited to kind of dive into this with you tonight and kind of do a deep dive on this. So let's start with, first off, Coach, with your film breakdown. Let's start off with the pass game here and how he's going to initially affect that. And we'll get this up on the screen here. I'm just going to maneuver some pieces around here and get that all set up. And there we go. And so what is your first thing about him in the pass game? How is he going to affect Seattle's pass game and even what defenses now do playing Seattle?
Now, admittedly, I did a video last night using these same plays. So full disclosure, if you've watched that video, you know, this may be repetitive information, but point number one for me is he has wins against high-level talent. So this is Horn from Carolina. He has wins against high-level talent, which tells you he's a high-level talent, right? It's a deep ball, you know, and it's outside technique by Horn. And so they this is a Kubiak play call from 2024, by the way. I should have prefaced it with that. So this is a similar concept repeatedly used in 2024 to spring him open on these deep concepts. Is number two, in this case, a tight end, running a route that intentionally crosses this safety's face. So basically forces that safety to deal with that and then opens up the middle of the field, the deeper concept to Shaheed. He's a weapon, man. I don't know how you define him. He's more than just a deep ball guy, in my opinion. You really, did a good job setting it up. They used him in the run game before. Kubiak knows how to do that. He was the guy responsible for it, at least 2024. He knows the player, and it's very similar to, the Ravens just traded for Draymond Jones. I find it hard to believe that the Ravens would trade for Draymond Jones if they didn't go through Mike McDonald to see, okay, what kind of player is this guy? What's he like in practice? How does he approach things? Is he a professional? And the same thing applies here, except the difference is Kubiak is in your building. He's literally your offensive coordinator. So wins against high-level talent. I got one more here. Now, I understand Seahawks fans may not have the same opinion. These plays are in the wrong order for me, so I have to move forward, skip forward. My apologies if that's, kind of interrupting the visuals for the viewers, but I get it. Seahawks fans may not have the same opinion of this guy. I'm a huge fan of Renardo Green. When he came out in the draft, he was one of the guys that I could not believe people were talking about. He's a third-round pick. He might be there in the fourth. I'm like, are you nuts? That guy to me had first-round type talent. I think he went mid-second round. I like his game in the pros as well. I don't know anything about metrics and targets and all that stuff. I look at the film and I just go off my own eyes, for better or for worse. Again, this is, film from his time in New Orleans, but you got him up the left sideline and he's not open. Not yet, right? He's actually being held as the ball is en route by Green. He did draw a defensive pass interference penalty here, but still makes the catch, by the way, with one hand. I don't have the end zone angle of this one. I love this play because he can work outside the numbers. So all of your quarters, match, structure, coverages, they are still going to be a one-on-one on the outside with Shaheed. Will he be a part of clear out concept? Sure. He'll be the clear out route at times with the explosion in production of Horton, man, this is a great fit. And we're not even talking about Cooper Kupp. I think what one aspect of this that I think I missed when I talked about it in the video last night, you don't have to rush Cooper Kupp back. You don't need to do that. And you can just make sure that he's completely healthy. I still think that's a quality signing by Seattle. I know that other people are going to second guess it. That's what we do in football analyst universe. But I do have one that I wanted to talk about in terms of the interchangeability. I believe this is an over concept. So Shaheed is spot shadowed here in yellow. And by the way, I should have said this earlier. Usually what I do with this blue line just to illustrate where the field is, the wide side of the field. That's where Shaheed is. And then the boundary. This is classic Kubiak stuff. This is 2024 against the Falcons. You could have any combination of these four guys. In this case, it's Olave running the clear out, the go, vertical. And then it's Shaheed on the over concept. People got different names for it. It's a play act. This should look familiar, right? It's the same structure, right? Under center. The only difference is it's the eye. And Kubiak hasn't been in the eye that much. He's been in I believe Kubiak is I think one of his foundational things is horizontal spread from a formational standpoint. So he doesn't want, in my opinion, a second guy back here in the eye. Typically, he wants that second backfield threat, whether it's a tight end, fullback, whatever, to be attached to a tackle, or maybe in the B gap between the tackle and the guard. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. But I love the interchangeability that you've got with these guys. Could be Horton here on the clear out route. Normally, the guy running the over concept so far, JSN. And he's, two of Darnold's throws to his left on this concept. One of them to JSN, I believe, week 2, maybe week 1, and then the one to Derek Young against the Bucs. That's ridiculous, for him to complete that. But you're I think going to offer less predictability based upon where people line up. And that, people are going to talk about matchups. Sure. If you have Horton, assuming Kupp doesn't play for a while, Horton, Shaheed, and JSN on the field at the same time, which level corner, which quality corner as the third corner is going to deal with Shaheed or Horton? That's a simplistic view, but it's still valid. I tend to think that if I'm a team who doesn't have a third corner to match up with your third best receiver, I'm probably not going to put him in that situation. I'm probably going to avoid it by any means necessary. So what are your thoughts on the interchangeability of the guys? Because to me, I think that's something that maybe I didn't even mention last night in the video that I did. But because of his familiarity with the system, you don't have to pigeonhole him in one spot.
No, and that's the best thing about this maneuver for me and what Seattle did is you are getting a guy that you can move all throughout. He can play inside. He can play outside the numbers. He can be in your 12 personnel looks with him and JSN only on the field. And to your point about that third corner, like this will force teams to be like, do we actually have a third corner that can really play man if he needs to and match up with a Horton or a Shaheed? Or are we going to have to literally sit in zone this whole game because we don't trust our guy and we're going to have to shade a safety to help even, where JSN is? Now you've really left these two other weapons in Horton and Shaheed kind of on their own free will to do what they want and sit in zones and understand where to sit down. And the best part about this all, in my opinion, is I think it'll impact Horton is when Cooper Kupp is healthy and comes back, how do you defend Shaheed, Cooper Kupp, and JSN on the field? And we're still haven't even touched on Elijah Arroyo or AJ Barner, who have both turned into weapons as tight ends that can be factors in that passing game as well.
Ton of talent, man. And Kubiak's doing a great job coordinating it and making sure that as many guys as possible get an opportunity to touch the football and make a play. You might not get 8 chances in a game to make a play. You may only get 3. So you got to take advantage of them. I like what they're doing now. I do have a play here in a moment that I think we can use to talk about the aspect of JSN's gravity, what he pulls, and how that worked. It's actually from the Commanders game, but after this play, I'll have to reload real quick, so you may just pull my screen down. But this is an illustration that we shouldn't pigeonhole the dude. It's into the boundary, so technically he's the X. Generally, that's the X into the boundary. And you do have the tight end there, so there's a little bit of a problem with labeling him the X. Usually in old school terminology, the tight end and the Z are on the same side, but I digress. So it's a deeper out by Shaheed, and then the tight end, I think, is Johnson running a shallow out. So really, you just got a high-low concept. This, to me, even though it's 2025 film, looks very Kubiak-esque in that you've got reads number 1 and 2, up here, Shaheed, Johnson, and then the third read, who lined up there originally on the same side, coming back in return motion to the same side. It's Rattler throwing it over. I actually like the footwork. I know some people who will not, but he's threatening deep. Excuse me, I didn't mean to speed that up. I meant to slow that down. He's getting the corner to press off or respect the vertical, and then breaking down. He's got better feet, in my opinion, laterally than people may, possibly give him credit for. I think that he's more than just a deep ball guy. I mean, he's got 44 catches this year on 66 targets.
Yeah. No, and that was the thing. Like, people think deep threat, and the thing that I always, that some people have said to me is, oh, well, this seems like when teams added Ted Ginn at points. And I went, yeah, but Ted Ginn was much more of just a true deep threat. Like, he was a guy you were laying it out there, letting him go get it. To me, Shaheed feels much more like when Emmanuel Sanders was coming into his own as a receiver. And that's who I give the comp to for him, is I think he has the ability to turn into an Emmanuel Sanders type receiver for an offense.
Yeah, like this play is one that I think, it's Derek Carr back there. He's retired. There's no reason to say negative things about him. But what I like about this play is when he throws the football, and again, this is 2024 film because he didn't play in 2025 this year. It's straight out of Kubiak's playbook. Obviously, he's the guy that called the plays, the guy that created the same structure. I mean, look what you've got. Essentially max pro by the offensive line and the fullback and the tight end. It's a two high safety structure, and this is Shaheed who's basically splitting them. Watch when the ball is thrown. I mean, that's Shaheed. And there's the two safeties. Basically, some would refer to that as bracketing him. It's not really a bracket. They're just playing their technique. Yeah. Ball is still in the quarterback's hands. And you can throw the ball deep to him in situations where he hasn't won yet.
Yeah.
And right now, JSN can do anything. Like he's otherworldly this season, in my opinion. I feel guilty watching JSN film because it's so easy to consume and easy to enjoy. You're like, oh, he's just going to win. He's just going to win this out routes. No problem.
Yeah.
It's not like that with everybody else. Shaheed's got a little bit of that, if you ask me. I would like to load up a play from the Commanders game.
Sure. Go for it.
To kind of illustrate our point. It'll take me a second. I'll have to jump back out of my program if you want to pull me down. Yep. Do you feel guilty having so much talent on offense? Do you feel guilty having so much position personnel?
It's hilarious to me because I think of, to me right now, I think back to Pete Carroll's Seattle teams, and we had talent. Like, you had the Golden Tates and you had Zach Miller and Marshawn Lynch in that group, but you didn't really have all that talent. In some respects, to me, this is like going back to some of the Mike Holmgren era stuff where you had a little bit more that was Sean Alexander, and you had Jeremy Stevens, and you had Darrell Jackson and Bobby Ingram and those type of weapons, and Joe Jurevicius of that 05 Super Bowl team. But I still don't think Seattle has ever had this much talent on an offense.
Very much reminds me of the Ravens situation, even though our season is, obviously taking a drastic turn, a departure from what we expected and Seattle's. But there's just so much talent that you go through games where you're like, oh, that guy only got 3 targets. He only got, 2 catches. It's kind of crazy, and then 2 weeks later, the dude gets 7 targets, 5 catches for 110 and 2 touchdowns. I like this play, and this is what, this is really something that I talk about in a Sam Darnold video that I've already recorded, but just I haven't put on my YouTube channel yet. It'll be there tomorrow. This really illustrates, I think, what Sam Darnold can recognize, and I don't know how. I have no idea how he recognizes it, but basically we're talking about this safety and this corner double teaming JSN. This is just to me is just a straight double team. They're not double teaming him both at the line, but off the line with the release. You clearly get eyes of this safety on JSN. Initially off the snap, Darnold for a moment looked at these guys. Who knows what he's trying to confirm there. But in any case, and Horton, clean win. Why? It's a one-on-one. It's a one-on-one with a two-way go. There's no safety here. There's no middle of the field safety here. And the safety to the downside of the screen is locked up visually with JSN. So you've got a two-way go. Shaheed's going to win that, just like Horton is. It's against the St. Riestel's a good player, but man, that's a ton of separation for for a first-year guy who got drafted in the 5th round.
Yeah, and when this play happened, it was the thing that I've noticed about Sam Darnold down. I think it'll even go better when he's got Shaheed there to add to this, is his level of just progression and getting through his 1, 2, 3 and getting his feet aligned with that progression and just being in rhythm the whole time through.
Yep. I love, there's so much to like about it. You've got the one tight end set to the backside, and then this guy made a play on Sunday night, but he won't be on the field at this point nearly as much, even if Cooper Kupp is out. But that was a great play. It was a great throw by Darnold. But in any case, you can see what I mean, that when he catches the ball, his helmet doesn't immediately go here. I'm talking about Darnold. He seems to be looking at like Bobby Wagner or Lavu or something. I'm not sure. But in any case, ton of separation for Horton. You got a one-on-one. I don't want to say made it easy, but it definitely opened up the opportunity to that side of the field for Horton, and that type of stuff will be there for Shaheed. He'll take advantage.
Yeah.
His yards per catch is down in 2025. I don't think that's a product of his athletic ability or his potential. I think it's just the Saints are a really bad football team.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. So the one thing I also wanted to ask you here, Coach, is we just talked about Shaheed in this pass game and what he's going to bring and how he's going to create so many mismatches. How much does he actually influence the run game and potentially Seattle seeing less of these loaded boxes going forward?
Yeah, it's entirely possible. The heavy personnel groups, what people refer to as heavy personnel groups, Arroyo's touchdown, I think, is a 13 personnel group. And I don't even know the guy who was matched up with him, number 18 for Washington. Great throw by Darnold, really putting it in a, I don't want to say 50-50 position, but he put the ball in a location such that Arroyo could catch it, but also the DB could possibly, make a play on it if he turned and got his head around. I do wonder if Shaheed will be used on some jet sweep stuff, reverses. They have used JSN in an irregular manner earlier in 2025. The little screen, that middle screen that they kind of kept from the previous offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And then he tried to throw it back across the field to Charbonnet, I think, in week 1. Some of those irregular plays, I wonder if Shaheed will be a part of, not that particular concept, but jet sweeps, reverses. I wonder if Shaheed will be a part of that because, hey, he knows the system. He doesn't have to be told, what we're doing. It's just cadence and stuff like that. I love what Kubiak's doing with the play action pass game out of 12 and 13 personnel. If I think it was Greg Olson talked about it on Twitter, if you want to go to a nickel set and play with a too high structure, well, then Sam Darnold's just going to go to his secondary play and he's going to run the football and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah. No, that was the one thing is there was a bunch of Seattle fans that when Greg Olson put that tweet out, the one you're exactly talking about, they got all upset saying, he's kind of taking a shot. No, what he is saying is exactly that Seattle is so good right now passing out of heavy sets and heavy personnel groupings that if you want to put the nickel package on the field, great, go for it, because we'll just check to the run and run the ball down your throat with our physical size.
Yeah, I mean, Kenneth Walker III is an extremely talented dude, regardless of whatever slight criticisms some fans may talk about, bouncing things outside, not staying on the track, whatever. He's extremely talented. If you can get him to the line of scrimmage untouched, then you're in business. I like his talent and his ability. Charbonnet, same thing. I feel like Charbonnet, might be a little bit less explosive than Walker, but they both break tackles. They're both, capable running backs, I think, of reaching 1,000 yards if they got enough carries. They're splitting, so that's gonna minimize that opportunity, obviously. I think it's a great setup, man. It almost now reminds me of an NBA team that it's almost too deep at every position. That doesn't work nowadays. Nobody is too deep in the NBA
Yeah.
at every position. But it almost reminds me of an NBA team that can go 9 deep and play 4 guys off the bench with heavy minutes, and they can all score and they can all defend and they can all shoot threes and switch on pick and rolls, which is all anybody does now. So I'm impressed with the depth that's been created over there. It's not what I expected. Somebody in the Ravens Discord asked me, what move would you think the Seahawks might make? And I said, well, if it were me, I would look at like a Kevin Zeitler, a guy who plays right guard, who could come in and maybe improve the group. But Seattle likes what they got there, and they like their depth. This is great. I like the move, to be honest with you, and the way they're playing on defense, down so many guys. What's the update on Jones and Job?
So Job is still in concussion protocol, and Jones today actually went through walkthrough in a limited capacity. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Seattle doesn't hold him out of this game versus Arizona, because the following week they're playing LA Rams in LA, which will be a massive game for them in the hopes of winning the division.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where they're at with that. Kupp, I don't think practiced today. He's still nursing his heel hamstring thing, and I think they're going to, your point, take their time bringing him back. So my final question for you here, Coach, before I let you go, because I know it's late where you are, but how much more dangerous are the Seahawks now than they were Sunday night when they left Washington after they put a big ass whooping on the Commanders?
Yeah, that game was over. When Pili, however you say his name,
Yeah.
when he forces the fumble, I said this game's over. They're going to score, and that's it. Even though Jaden Daniels, great competitor, I love the strategy that Mike McDonald and those guys used. To me, it was, we're going to rush 4, and if you want to move around and scramble on every play or 3 out of every 4 plays, you're going to get worn down. We can rotate our guys in and stay fresh. So I loved it. But you're talking about offensive side, right? How much more dangerous?
I'm just talking in general, Coach. How much more dangerous is this team now as a whole, in your opinion?
We have a lot of depth, and that's been proven on the defensive side. Crazy, though, that Witherspoon and Love are out for so long. Woolen, at some point, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whatever, is talked about being moved on. I think he played well the last 2 weeks. I perceive him to be playing better, but I didn't sit and watch him in particular. I did with Witherspoon. I actually just recorded a Witherspoon video that'll come out later tonight. I think that you got a lot of depth. The guys believe in what they're doing. The defense especially. I think people outside Seattle are not aware maybe of how many backups have had to come, get on the field. Kendrick was one earlier on in the season. Drake Thomas is, playing his butt off out there. I think Kobe Bryant's an extremely underrated safety across the whole NFL. He's very decisive and quick, and he's playing, back there with Okada, that might have been the defensive play of the week that I've seen. I haven't seen a better defensive play. So in terms of how dangerous are they as a group, they're the best team that I get to watch. They're the best team that I've watched so far this year. I mean, the Chiefs looked great in the 2 games that I saw them against the Ravens and the Bills. So in that matchup, Chiefs and Seahawks, it's going to be an uphill climb for any team to beat Kansas City in a playoff situation. But man, you would relish that opportunity because that means it happens in the Super Bowl, right?
Exactly. And that's the thing right now. Like, I look at Seattle and I go, our 2 losses that we've had this year were due to a Nick Bosa making an all-pro level play in week 1 and stripping Sam Darnold of that. And I think just in some respects, Kubiak outthought himself a little bit on what the 49ers were going to do against them in that game. And then the other one was you had a just an inopportunistic interception for Sam Darnold in a game he played phenomenally against Tampa Bay, and they went on a last-second field goal. Like, you give us those games again, I think Seattle wins those games. And I think in some respects now, if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles or I'm the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Green Bay Packers, and I go, Seattle is such a good road team that if they have to come to our place in the playoffs, I'm worried about that. I'm not looking forward to playing that team. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the back end of this season goes for Seattle, but I think it'll just be, continue on the same trajectory they've been on. But Coach, I just want to say I really appreciate you coming on and again doing another film breakdown for my viewers here. It's fantastic. So let my viewers know where they can find more of your content that you're producing, because it's phenomenal work.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I'm humbled by stuff like that, and in fact, when people ask me to come on their show, I'm like, really? You want me? What can I bring to someone else's show? So thanks a lot. First of all, all 22 films on YouTube is my YouTube channel, and my goal on a daily basis is to put out at least 2 videos that are long form content. I wish I had time to do my absolute joy is to make 3-minute videos, maybe 4 minutes, 1 play, maybe 2, because then I can just churn those out. But because of what's being done on YouTube right now with film, the workflow process has probably been expanded by a factor of like 1.5, not a factor of 2, but 1.5. So your input workflow in order to get out whatever you want or trying to produce has been increased from a time frame standpoint. So YouTube and Twitter, I wish I could put more stuff out on Twitter. I do have a Patreon that I don't post anything on the Patreon. That's not, I don't, whatever I post is going to be on YouTube or Twitter. But the allure or the draw, of the Patreon is that it's a secure Discord associated with it that Ravens fans can join their own individual Discord, Lions fans, Seahawks fans, and it's $5 a month. Allows people to communicate about the game with each other and with me, independent of trolls or people that aren't fans of the Seahawks or Ravens or Lions. But it's 3 separate ones. So that's what I spend my time doing, man. And then I run a tutoring business. I'm a former teacher, math and special ed. So I run a tutoring business as a second, gig, if you will.
Well, I'll make sure that those links for those channels are down below here, Coach, for you. And again, man, I just appreciate so much what you do. Your film breakdowns are fantastic. And as a coach myself, I love watching them and I love listening to what you have to say about them. So again, appreciate you coming on. And for every of my viewers out there, make sure you guys go follow all 22 films for Coach Derek there. He puts out great stuff. So go give that a follow.
Appreciate it, man. How far are you guys into your season for your coaching?
We currently are about to play our semifinal playoff game in not this weekend, but next weekend. So I've got to get my game planning all kind of squared away. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve offensively to give us maybe a little bit of an advantage in the game and do some things that are maybe tendency breakers for us. So
you guys played them before? Or first, you guys played them before or first matchup?
Yeah, we played them before, and we only lost 23-14 in that game, and it was just a couple of plays here and there, maybe 4 offensively, that killed some of our drives that ultimately led to the game going the way it did. So we're looking to turn the fortune in a couple weeks here.
Well, good luck, man. Return bouts or rematches, are always fun. In the playoffs, because you can. One of the best things besides winning your last game, which means you won a championship, is beating someone and watching them walk off the field knowing their season's over. It sounds harsh, but it's one of the best feelings in the world, knowing we're moving on and they got to get on the bus and go home.
100%, Coach. So appreciate it. And we'll get you back on the show in the future.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. That was guest Coach Derek from All 22 Films. That was a fantastic breakdown on what the Seahawks are getting in Rashid Shaheed coming in from the New Orleans Saints. And he thinks this is an absolute amazing trade for the Seattle Seahawks and what it provides to this offense. So, guys, I echo the same things. I love this trade. I know there's some people that are squabbling about the trade concept or compensation in it. At the end of the day, I think you got to look at it this way. You are getting a guy that is going to come into this offense with limited to no issues of learning this playbook, understanding what's being asked of him, and he's going to go out there and make an impact for Seattle. And like Coach Derek said, it allows you to let Cooper Kupp get more healthy and not rush back, and it gives Sam Darnold another guy to sling that ball deep to, which he's being done so well at such a high level this year. So again, guys, appreciate all of you being in here and watching this channel. Make sure you guys comment. Let me know what you guys thought of the video. I know there were a few technical glitches in the video today with just some of the slides moving around, so I apologize for that. We'll get that dialed up in the future here. But other than that, guys, again, if you haven't, sub up to the channel, share the channel with any fellow Seahawk fans. And as always, stay loud, be proud, and go Hawks. Have a good night, everybody.